Welcome back, guys. We're back.
We're back with
Once more.
with another episode. Once more. We're here with you on this current week.
What a week.
What a week.
What a week.
You know, it's funny about this week because before it before it was halfway through, I was like, okay, it feels like a slow week compared to usual.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
But really, yesterday and today was kind of like, oh wait, no, it's been
There's a lot happened.
Yeah, a lot actually did happen.
It was there's actually a lot of things that transpired over 5 days.
Mm-hmm.
Just 5 days ago.
Yeah, no, it's an interesting thing to think about. This is the most recent events. But let's start with Kanye.
Yeah.
So we were wrong. Well, to be fair,
Well, Kanye said that he suspended his campaign, and it turns out that he didn't, after all.
True Gemini fashion.
In true Gemini fashion, he's still doing it. He held a rally in South Carolina.
Yeah, South Carolina.
In which he said Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves. She just handed them over to other white people.
Yeah.
Which, I've seen people be like, no, you don't get it. What he meant was he handed over the black vote to the Democrats, which hold them under a separate form of slavery. But you just got to think about what he says, and it makes sense.
See, that's too much defending, for me to be like, I agree.
And you know what? I actually don't doubt that that's probably what Kanye meant. But
the way you have to,
he literally said Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves.
Yeah, the way you say things does matter. If
come on, man.
If you meant something else, you're going to have to say what you really meant,
Yeah.
You're going to have to elaborate on that. If the public opinion is Harriet Tubman helped free the slaves, then if you're trying to say otherwise, something else as well, try to get your point across first.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Kanye's on one. He's going through it right now, it seems.
Yeah, but that's the thing. It's is this, how is he doing mentally?
How is he doing mentally? Well, Dave Chappelle went, to Wyoming to check up on him, and they uploaded that one bizarre video on Twitter where it's Kanye, Dave Chappelle, and I honestly don't know who the other guys are, but it looks like they're posing for a picture. And then Kanye says to Dave, give us some uplifting words, tell an uplifting joke, da-da-da-da. It's very bizarre. It's strange.
I don't know, do you think it's one of those things where it's just Dave's trying to be a good friend?
Yeah.
And whatever helps Kanye, help ease Kanye, he's probably just yeah, man, we'll post these things online.
Mm-hmm.
We'll
yeah,
whatever, man. Cause
you would do it.
Yeah, cause,
for your friend.
Well, especially think about Dave Chappelle. He's the kind of guy who's really fuck it, he doesn't care what anyone thinks about him. Yeah. So for him, this is nothing. If he's caught posing with Kanye, it's his friend, so he's gonna be like, that's my friend, I'm there.
Yeah.
No matter how controversial Kanye can be, he's still his friend.
Yeah. And also, in the midst of everything, it looks like Kanye threw Kim under the bus too. He revealed that he, I guess, has tried to divorce Kim Kardashian ever since she met up with Meek Mill at some prison reform forum, convention, something, and that Kim and Chris tried to put a 5150 psychiatric hold on him. And
I don't know, man, because what's real? And you saw Kim today, right? How, she was just saying Kanye's going through a lot mentally, just defending Kanye, and it's just being hey, we need to support him.
Yes. Oh wait, no, I actually didn't see that.
She did that today. She posted just basically hey, he's going through a tough time right
now. On social media?
Yeah, on her Instagram story.
Okay.
She posted that, and that's great that she's supporting him and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But what is Kanye saying? Is he is there any truth about it? I don't know. Because why would you say these things, man? Is he going that deep off the edge?
I mean, he's bipolar, right?
Yeah.
And everyone is speculating that he's going through a manic episode right now.
Yeah.
And I know nothing about bipolar disorder. I don't know how. All I know is there's mania and there's depression. Mm-hmm. And it's very case by case basis.
Yeah.
Other than that, it's very case by case basis.
It's whatever's public, and I don't know. I think Kanye's really publicizing a lot of it, and I don't even want to. I just hope he's doing well.
Yeah, I've seen like some people really grab onto this Kanye thing to be really conspiracy theorist about it and be like, no, Kanye's fine. He's not bipolar. They're just trying to silence him. He's not going through anything. This is just him, and they're trying to make him seem like he's mentally ill and all of these things. And I don't know, man. I mean, like, whatever is going on with Kanye, it's definitely a show. I mean, it's entertaining for sure.
Yeah.
And it is gonna be fucked up if it turns out that this is actually like a mentally ill person, like mental breakdown.
I don't know, man. I just hope it's
out for the world to see. But in that case, okay, if that is the case and I'm his wife, I'm like, I'm taking your phone, bro.
Yeah, that's the other thing.
You know what I mean?
How much are you condoning at this point? Like, if you you probably want him to be like free and himself, and it's so hard to speak of because we're not celebrities. We don't know the kind of stress they go through, if there's any stress really at all. Like, or I don't know what kind of like life they live.
Yeah, who knows? Like,
who knows what they're going through?
Yeah,
like we try to empathize with them. He might be stressed out too, and like he might just be like in a point where he's like, I can't back down from this presidential thing.
Yeah.
And I have to do it, and I maybe like this. I'm only doing it the best I can.
Yeah.
And that stress alone might be going up to him.
It could be. Yeah, man, I don't know. And then there's like the most cynical conjecture that we can come to, which is that Kanye is totally fine, and all of this is just promo for whatever new thing he's doing, whatever new album he's dropping, whatever other whatever his next project is he's like, you know what? It's time to promo this thing. Let's get on Twitter and say some shit.
Yeah, I mean let's hope it's not that, really.
Honestly, I hope it is that. Yeah. I would rather it be that than him actually going through some shit, because then that's kind of sad.
It's pretty like fucked up to be.
It is fucked up, but it's something I would expect from him.
But I rather, I mean, but just because I would expect it to, like, I don't know, I'd rather not have that, because that's just fucked up.
That is fucked.
Mm-hmm.
If it's a ploy.
Yeah.
It is fucked.
To fake that. Mm-hmm. Just for your album.
Yeah, but he also said slavery was a choice and that Harriet Tubman didn't free the slaves. So what can we expect from Kanye?
It's hard to believe that like this is the same guy that says George Bush doesn't care about black people. Like, and has, I mean, like, yeah, he's hard, like he's one far side on left on one issue, one like on the other side is far right as well. Like, he's a very complex person.
I mean, well, so is Trump. And he really knows how to work the media and social media, and they know what draws attention, and like, I don't know what's going on, but I think that's plausible too.
This is why Gemini's get a bad rep.
Because of Trump and Kanye.
Yeah, dude, they represent us so wrongfully, man. Like, I mean, like, I get it. I mean, I can't say anything now because like, shit, bro.
I know. Yeah. No, I get it. I think, who knows what's going on with Kanye, but I do think it would be extremely sad if this guy really is going through some mental breakdown, some like deep psychological shit.
I don't want to see this, like,
because that is something that like I don't think like the world should be like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? That's a very personal thing to go through. Whereas if it is a ploy, as fucked up as it is, it's kind of like par for the course. People do anything for attention. Mm. And it's like, at least we can be like, well, there's Kanye. That's Kanye for you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Man.
But, all right, bringing things to a more local matter. Let's talk about Augie's.
Yeah, let's talk about Augie's. Local Inland Empire coffee shop. If you're anywhere from around here in the Inland Empire, you know them. They got 2 locations in Riverside, 2 in Redlands, 1 in Claremont. And if you guys haven't heard yet, Augie's has indefinitely closed all their locations down as of July 4th. So there's been controversy around this because Augie's basically made the case that they're saying that they close because of COVID, and this is affecting the safety of our workers and our customers, and we don't know how to navigate all of this that's happening, so we're indefinitely closing. But the employees say otherwise. They basically have tried to form a union ever since this quarantine stuff happened. They had complaints about being called into work when they didn't feel safe enough to do so. And they're just the way that the Augie's owners have handled the quarantine um, has really fallen short, has really not been good for the employees. And the employees voiced this concern with unionizing efforts. So 40 Augie's employees tried to form a union. And to give you some perspective, that's 70% of the Augie's workforce is the people who tried to unionize. 70% of the Augie's employees tried to unionize. That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of fucking people.
Yeah, to say that, like, you know, it's all fucked and we're just going to drop 70% of our employees.
Yeah, like, no, you don't do that. Yeah, so 40% or 40 employees tried to unionize. They held the town hall with the owners, Austin and Andy Amento, to basically discuss the union and have a conversation about it. So the employees went, they voiced concerns, and they expressed why they think unionizing is the right way to go and why they feel that it's time for a union and why they need one.
It's only natural this time, especially like in a pandemic, man. Like,
yeah,
you know, your healthcare isn't like it's tied to your
yes.
employer.
Yes.
You know, and it's just like if you're working for these, like for a coffee shop that's like getting bigger, you know, and it's like give them a piece of the pie and like give them like some guarantees, you know, as a worker that they're going to be taken care of.
Yeah, honestly, that I've given that a lot of thought. Like, how, to what extent do you really have to be so anti-worker that you're going to say, I'm going to close everything because you're trying to unionize? When honestly, it would just be better, more beneficial for you. Like, it would just be smarter for you to just be like, okay, unionize and negotiate with the union. Like, it's not that unreasonable. You know what I mean?
You can have a collective bargaining agreement about whatever you want to have. You know?
Yeah. And especially, like, we talked about this the other day, is that honestly, whatever the union, whatever demands that they had, 100%, whatever it is, I can pretty much assure you it's not unreasonable by any means. No, it's like the most basic shit.
It's basic rights.
Yeah.
You know, this is what everyone wants. We just want to be treated like basic human beings and just have basic rights.
Yeah.
You know, and for like people to be against unions, you have to be basically against like human rights at one point. It's some like not every human is equal in your eyes at that point.
I mean, to be against unions, if anything, like you gotta hand it to the owners. They have grasped fully the concept that
they're riding this fucking bull with the horns.
They're riding the bull with the horns. They've come to the realization that ultimately is true, that the owner and the worker are diametrically opposed. Like that relationship, that employee-employer relationship is by nature one whose interests are opposed to one another.
Yeah. And
they know that. The owners know that. You know what I mean?
Well, even if they strike an agreement, you know, is it going to be like a super bare minimum agreement? You know, let's say they all get their jobs back and gets a certain amount of benefits as well, like that they wanted, you know. Like how much is going to be enough for them to get their job back? Because we live in this COVID pandemic right now where, you know, money's going to run out.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would imagine that a lot of the employees' concerns were regarding maybe how the quarantine was being handled. From what I've read, that a lot of them ended up self-quarantining because they feel like Augie's wasn't complying.
Well, not just that. I'm just saying, like, how long is this going to get taken out? How long can this owner just be like, yeah, dude, I'm still anti-union, you know?
Well, yeah, I mean, yeah, that's my fear, is that all they got to do is like just hold on, because they're still shipping out coffee. Their warehouse operations are still going. Which, by the way, every employee that is currently employed at the warehouse, from what I've read, are basically the employees that were against the union. So every employee let's say 70% of the workforce basically tried to unionize. That 30% is the one at the warehouse, working at the warehouse, because they're still shipping out the coffee.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's crazy because with enough resources, I mean, anyone's replaceable. That's the thing. And if the owner is gonna just play the long game, I feel like he's got more money than
Yeah, that's honestly one of the things that does suck about striking and unionizing in the US in general, is that unfortunately there are a lot of scabs, essentially. It's easier to get scabs in the US just because for some people it really might just, they need the money, they need to work. That
at one point,
they can't afford to not.
Yeah, at one point you're still unemployed.
Yeah.
And you're still protesting, but you have no income coming in.
Yeah, you're like inadvertently, you end up being a scab.
Yeah.
And that's unfortunate because those are probably the workers that need the union the most, But yeah, so their warehouse operations are still going. They're still shipping out coffee. But yeah, so the owners, they held a town hall to discuss the union. Kelly Bader, an employee of Augie, says that they basically, the way they perceived the town hall was they were just trying to avoid union talk the entire time. And another employee, oh man, I'm going to butcher his name probably, Sean McLeod, he said that they closed the town hall by saying like, all right, we heard you out. Let us research unions and we'll get back to you. Let me Google a union. let me see what this is about.
Yeah, let me see what the hub is all about.
Yeah.
Real quick. And then I'll get back to you guys.
Yeah.
Like, imagine they do their due diligence on the research.
Yeah.
And truly understand what union's all about. And they're like, you know what? I was a dick this entire time. My bad. Like,
yeah,
my
they
bad,
come
guys.
back, they're like, hey, actually, it sounds pretty reasonable. I get it.
If I was in your shoes, I'd do it.
If I was in your shoes, I'd do it.
I mean, like, hopefully that's the case. I mean,
oh my god.
To be determined.
I mean, if you were even like just a smart business owner, and if your employees wanted to unionize, Augie's is stupid, honestly, because they're probably losing more money now being closed than if they just acknowledged the union and kept working. Like, bro.
It could have been. This is a huge headache at this point now. Like, for everyone,
Yeah.
the owner included, You're
It's
getting bad
stupid.
PR. It's bad PR on your move.
It's bad PR. You're like, I think just honestly business wise, like, it's so funny how business wise it's like literally the dumbest thing you could do.
Just be against it, especially now.
Especially
with social media being like as a tool it is for for pro unions,
Yeah.
Like, the word has been spread in no time.
Yeah.
The LA Times picked this up. This is something that we're having a discussion about it,
Yeah.
It's like everyone's having a discussion about
Everyone's talking about it.
Yeah, so this can't be good for Augies.
It's not in any sense. Bad PR, dumb business decision. You're losing money. Even after COVID, even after everything recovers, like, I don't know, you still were local enough that this is gonna leave a bad taste in people's mouth.
Yeah.
Yo, I'm like, fuck Augies. There's other places.
Yeah, there's Back to the Grind.
There's Back to the Grind.
And there's Twee Coffee, which is a brand new coffee shop around. It's Magnolia.
Yeah.
Right off Magnolia. Fresh shop. Mm-hmm. Brand new.
There's the Cupcake
Espresso in Moreno Valley.
Yeah. Yeah, man. Augies is...
You gotta go.
Man, you're no Starbucks. Like, who are you right now to... like,
you're not even Coffee Bean Bro.
You're not even Coffee Bean Bro. But, yeah, so they held that town hall. Mm-hmm. They held that town hall. The employees felt slighted. They felt like, all right, they don't give a fuck. We see what this is about. So, Augie's put out a statement, basically, on July 4th, announcing that they were closing operations indefinitely. And they sent it in a mass email out to all of the workers. And this exact statement that they sent out to the workers is the same thing that they published on social media an hour later.
Oh.
They didn't talk to the workers beforehand about what they didn't even give them like the
Can you imagine just finding that like just randomly just going on your phone, just finding out,
oh hey, like my job closed.
Like, what do you know?
What do you know?
I don't have a job anymore.
Yeah.
Like, what is that?
What? Yeah, like you don't not even have that respect there to To tell what?
To
tell them?
inform your employees. You're just treating them like cattle. Like,
yeah, even for the most like nefarious reasons. Even if you were like, yo, fuck your union, whatever. To the disrespect of like them finding out at the same time that we're all finding out.
Yeah.
Is bullshit.
And it's a sugar-coated like explanation of bullshit. Like, wow, like how are you gonna be like if your employees are going to come up to you and try to establish a union, and your response is like take some time, and then a couple days later let the public know that, including the employees, that that everything's done.
Oh my
God.
What
is that?
Imagine like getting in a fight with like your boyfriend or girlfriend, and you're like, all right, let's think about this. I need some space, and then you check Twitter like a couple days later, and it's like single again.
Yeah, like your Facebook status is done.
Imagine that's essentially what they did to the employees here. Like, that would be, deuces.
Yeah, you know,
peace out.
Like, who's free tonight? Hit me up. You know.
Oh my god.
Essentially, they were like, anyone. Like, we're hiring some people. You know, they had. Oh my god, they had to replace them. It's just, and I can't blame anyone who took that job because people need money.
Yeah, that's what's difficult about it is like you can't even like necessarily blame people for scabbing because man,
what are you gonna do?
The situation is dire.
What are you going to do if you just go and you just run out of money, man? Like,
I mean employers like historically exploit that because they know how dire the situation is for this has been going on for decades. Like as long as scabs have been a thing, this has been a tactic. Like, we know how fucked you guys are. We know you're striking, and we're gonna go to like even more fucked workers, you know?
Yep.
And have them come scab.
Yep. People who are even harder times than you are, because they're gonna do it.
How like nefarious is that? Yeah. How evil is that?
How can you get away with that? But
all right, but I want to read part of the statement that Augie's put out, and this is basically like the reason that their reasoning for like why they're closing and all that. So they're saying. July 5th, we will be laying off our team and closing all of our retail operations. This closing of stores is indefinite as we need time to reevaluate how Augie's can operate safely in the future given the reality of the prolonged effect of this virus. This is like a 1, 2, 3, 4... This is like a 4-paragraph statement, never once mentioning unionizing efforts.
Yeah, that's
which is a pretty significant thing. Along with COVID, understandable. Like if you're gonna say like we closed because of yeah, COVID is one of them. But to not mention like it's this statement, the fact that they omitted any unionizing efforts in this is just so clear about why they actually closed.
Well, when Augie's employees like started coming up to their boss and saying, hey, what are we going to do? Are we going to close down? Are we going to take precautions and all that? You know, the owner was just like, there's too much business to be made, you know?
Yeah.
And it's one of those things where it's like, I definitely don't believe that Augie's was going through some shit.
Oh, no. Employees are saying Augie's was doing better than it had been
because like, if you think
in
about,
a long time, which I believe.
I totally believe that because if you think about it, the mindset in this pandemic, you know, I have plenty of opportunities to make coffee at home, but I still like to go out and get coffee. There's something about going out and getting your coffee.
Yeah.
You know, that's therapeutic.
Yeah.
And for me to believe that, like, that Augie's had a horrible luck with
really every coffee place is thriving, but you got the short. Like, let's be real. Right now, some of the hardest hit places, some of the hardest hit businesses are restaurants. And in that category, the food places that are thriving the most are those most suited for takeout.
Yeah.
And of those places,
coffee shops.
I can't think of anything more like fit to survive this pandemic than a coffee shop that you literally go get your coffee and leave.
Well, that's the thing. It's like, because baristas, like speaking from experience in the barista world, is like it can be a very therapeutic thing from a customer standpoint to talk to your barista, to talk to your regulars, like for me as a barista, like I do like to like talk to my regulars and all that when I had them, you know, just check in on them, see how they were going. Like people would tell me they would go on vacation, they would have, or anything, like not anything, but like sometimes there would be very deep conversation with customers, and I'll talk about that later in life, just
that'd be a cool thing to
explore. I don't want to say too much about certain details with people, but like, it's just the joys of that. Like the joys of like working a entry level job, I guess, like doing a service gig, but like somehow breaking like the fourth wall, like at times, all like while doing your job. It's weird.
Yeah.
So for people like I don't know, for coffee gigs, people had to go there all the time because it's like you want to retain some kind of normalcy in your life during this pandemic. And for me, like I still went to go get coffee at the Cupcake Espresso easily because it was just to regain some normalcy. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, exactly. Coffee is like strangely one of the last remnants of the old world, before everything happened, which, it's bullshit. It's bullshit that it was anti-union, like, through and through. And any other explanation is just blatantly a lie. Like, we're not dumb, bro.
Yeah. Like, you may have gotten away with this, like, 50 years ago, whatever, however long ago, where the tech wasn't as good to, like, get the word spread. Yeah. That's the thing. It's like, I feel like this is a theme that we keep talking about. It's just like, things get better with tech, Yeah. Like, things get easier to show, like, to really expose for what they are, with tech. We get to spread the word. And it can be dangerous, too, and we'll talk about that later. Like,
Yeah, man. But with that being said, support to the Augie's Union. Yeah, man. So Augie's Union actually is supported by the UE, the United Electrical, Radio, and Machine Workers of America. And the Augie's Union will file an unfair labor practice charge with the National Relations Board because it is illegal to fire workers for trying to unionize. That violates the law.
What do you know? The law?
Against the law.
The law?
The law.
Wow. Well, we're going to see how that goes, and we'll let you guys know.
Yeah. Also, the employees have a GoFundMe going that we'll link in the description of the episode, and we encourage you all to donate what you can, and just plug the union, spread awareness, and solidarity with the Augie's Union.
Truly.
Yeah. On another note, do you want to talk about the infamous Harper's letter?
Yeah, you told me about this yesterday. So go ahead and tell me again.
This is interesting. So there's a letter on the Harper's website. It's called A Letter on Justice and Open Debate. It was published on July 7th, started by Thomas Chatterton Williams and 4 other journalists. And they basically made this letter condemning I guess you would call them like the infringements that are increasingly happening in public discourse on free speech, essentially. And people's quickness to, I guess, quote unquote, cancel people who disagree with them, politically, socially, people who have opposing viewpoints. So, Thomas Chatterton Williams, journalist, writer, started this letter with 4 other people, basically condemning cancel culture in a nutshell. Interestingly enough, when I read the letter, it's written from a pretty left-wing perspective.
And that's
condemning infringements on free speech from the left.
That's the interesting part of it, because you expect this to be a right-wing, talking point.
Because, infringements on free speech have been something that have been weaponized by the right. Because let's be honest, and they mentioned this in the letter, that a lot of actual real infringements on free speech are done to the left by the right. And they acknowledge this. Like, take Donald Trump, for example. You know what I mean? He is like the quickest to cancel anything. He's not about free speech. He's super sensitive. Barry Weiss, which ironically enough signed the letter. And even Thomas Chatterton Williams, he was just on a podcast with Matt Taibbi and Katie Halper, the Useful Idiots podcast from Rolling Stone, in which he himself kind of acknowledged the efficiency with which cancel culture gets things done and how pervasive it actually is, to the extent with which he admits that there were people that he wanted to sign the letter that he was outvoted on. Glenn Greenwald, most notably. He really wanted Glenn Greenwald to sign the letter, and he was outvoted by everyone else who signed the letter. So I do want to read some of the letter, just to give you guys an idea of like what the gist of it is and like what they are basically advocating for. All right, so here's some of the letter. The free exchange of information and ideas, the lifeblood of a liberal society, is daily becoming more constricted. While we have come to expect this on the radical right, censoriousness is also spreading more widely in our culture. An intolerance of opposing views, a vogue for public shaming and ostracism, and the tendency to dissolve complex policy issues in a blinding moral certainty. We uphold the value of robust and even caustic counterspeech from all quarters. But it is now all too common to hear calls for swift and severe retribution in response to perceived transgressions of speech and thought. More troubling still, institutional leaders, in a spirit of panic damage control, are delivering hasty and disproportionate punishments instead of considered reforms. Editors are fired for running controversial pieces. Books are withdrawn for alleged inauthenticity. Journalists are barred from writing on certain topics. Professors are investigated for quoting works of literature in class. A researcher is fired for circulating a peer-reviewed academic study, and the heads of organizations are ousted for what are sometimes just clumsy mistakes. Whatever the arguments around each particular incident, the result has been to steadily narrow the boundaries of what can be said without the threat of reprisal. We are already paying the price in greater risk aversion among writers, artists, and journalists who fear for their livelihoods if they depart from the consensus or even lack sufficient zeal in agreement. This stifling atmosphere will ultimately harm the most vital causes of our time. The restriction of debate, whether by a repressive government or an intolerant society, invariably hurts those who lack power and makes everyone less capable of democratic participation. The way to defeat bad ideas is by exposure, argument, and persuasion, not by trying to silence or wish them away. We refuse any false choice between justice and freedom, which cannot exist without each other. As writers, we need a culture that leaves us room for experimentation, risk-taking, and even mistakes. We need to preserve the possibility of good faith disagreement without dire professional consequences. If we won't defend the very thing on which our work depends, we shouldn't expect the public or the state to defend it for us. Thoughts?
See, my thing is like, with cancel culture, I do agree it goes too far at times. But also, it's like, what good is it if, like, Mr. Grab him by the pussy in actual, literal Joe Biden, like, don't get canceled either, you know?
Yeah.
Like, so there is discussion to have. It's like, what good is this if you can't even get the most notorious people that should be canceled?
Yeah.
You know? And on top of it, it's like, I do think cancel culture goes a little too far, you know? Like, we don't have enough facts, and some things we have to let time, you know, really, like...
Cancel culture? Yeah.
We have to let time just, like, kind of, like, lay out there and just let it just present all the facts. You know, let's marinate with things, you know, because things are complicated.
Let's examine everything. I mean, that's one of the arguments against cancel culture and for freedom of expression, for freedom of speech, is that you inadvertently do end up corroding due process. Because if we are quick to just jump on anything that somebody says that sounds like you don't agree with it, well, that can't be good. To just act on a whim without having all the facts there. And I think this is something that on its face is bad, but especially if you examine like existing power structures, man, every instance of censored speech disproportionately always falls on the left.
like that's the thing. It's interesting in the sense of like it's coming from the left and like.
And it ends up hurting leftist causes the most, I
Yeah,
think, from what I've seen.
It's like they were trying. They were trying to pose what was right, and then they realized it bit them in the ass.
Yeah. So you've heard of the BDS movement, the boycott, divestment, sanctions from Israel.
No, actually, I haven't.
So it's basically so during like apartheid South Africa, there was like a mass boycott of South African companies and businesses and companies who did business in South Africa in an effort to economically threaten them essentially for apartheid. And that's what think of it as like a global picket line.
Okay.
We're basically boycotting Israel and companies that do business with Israel for their treatment of Palestinians, which is in itself, that is free speech. You're speaking by not spending your money on companies that, which it's also, side note, Ben and Jerry's is awesome. They're on the BDS list.
Sorry guys.
They make ice cream, and not everyone's perfect.
Well,
they make ice cream in Israel.
That's the thing. Obama's not perfect, and everyone loves him for some reason.
Loves him, yeah.
He killed people. He droned people.
Yeah.
He sent people, he sent people back to Mexico. Bro, he
Deporter in chief.
Yeah. Oh, bro, yeah. Deporter in chief, indeed.
Yeah. But yeah, so I bring up BDS to say that that's a form of free speech, form of free expression. A couple years back, every single senator in the U.S., including Bernie Sanders, signed a letter condemning BDS and calling it anti-Semitic and weaponizing really actual anti-Semitism against a valid criticism of Israel, a nation state that is in part imposing this oppressive regime on Palestinians. And that is a huge violation of free speech. That is the biggest infringement of free speech that I can think of. And it's so insidious and so pervasive that nearly every politician subscribes to it, with the exception of a few.
I don't know, man.
And it's something that is supported by a lot of right-wingers who claim to be for free speech.
Well, that's the thing. Is no one's truly for everything they say they are. There's always going to be a blemish on everyone's record.
Yeah.
There's always going to be a blemish for everything, And that's where, I guess going back to the letter, it's now knowing that Ben and Jerry's is on this list, guys, how do you feel? And should we just cancel them because they're not 100% perfect?
Yeah, it's complicated, and I think I do think generally it is, as much as I hate to say it, if only for tactical reasons, this cancel culture and limiting the boundaries of what is acceptable speech and what are acceptable opinions to have, while I see the good intentions behind that, it ends up resulting in the worst of things, because then we normalize cancel culture and we normalize restricting speech that we don't agree with, which is good when it's for things that you don't agree with. It doesn't harm me to fucking deplatform Alex Jones, whatever. If anything, ideally, I guess people who say that free speech is a bourgeois value and it's for liberals, and ultimately it does, it always, that I don't know what the saying is, but that axe that you build, that you weld, is the one that ends up killing you, or I don't know. There's a saying, something like that.
Okay.
That the weapon that you end up making gets turned around on you, and that's always been the case. When we normalize all this this restricting speech, especially on social media, and banning certain users and whatever, it always disproportionately falls on the left. Some of the biggest targets on Facebook that have their accounts banned have been Palestinian rights groups.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it always ends up, because of just the power structures. We live in an oligarchy, essentially, really, that if you have real messages of working class solidarity and, you know, all these radical ideas about abolishing borders and abolishing the police. These are dangerous ideas to have for people in power. So when you're normalizing restricting the scope of what is acceptable speech, this is going to come back and bite you in the ass. It's going to be used against your causes and what you advocate for.
That's the thing. It's like as time goes on, we start realizing things and we start spreading this word and going back to it. It's just like, this is no longer.
Yeah.
Like, no longer standing for it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And I say that with like, because there's a lot of people that like I do respect that would be on like that did disagree with the letter and like said like, no, this is stupid. Well, there, as I was telling you before the show, there was a counter letter to the letter.
See, that's interesting too.
So there was this letter. There was a counter letter that like 160, 150 some other signatories signed behind that
mostly
basically
like journalists and like,
yeah,
and even for like this letter, you know, the original letter that we're speaking of, it was signed by journalists. Like,
a lot of prominent figures. Let's look at some of them. So prominent author and I guess like recently noted transphobe J.K. Rowling signed it. Famous linguist, academic, godfather of the left, fucking anarcho-communist Noam Chomsky signed the letter.
How do you like them apples?
How do you like them apples?
So it's like you hear J.K. Rowling, you're like, okay, maybe I shouldn't agree with this.
Yeah.
And then you hear
Noam Chomsky.
And you're like, okay, well, fuck.
Right, yeah, and that's not to say that you have to agree with, just because you agree with someone on everything, that you have to...
But it's complicated.
It's complicated, and that's interestingly enough, like, what cancel culture calls for. You know, are you going to cancel Noam Chomsky over this one thing?
It's case by case with each situation, because, you know, we can't say we're against freedom of speech, I guess, you know. And I don't know, it's just canceling everyone for, like, every little thing. I don't know, just, or, like, I don't know, having, like, the cancel culture guidelines need to be, like, set, if anything. And... like they're I don't know.
But how would you do that?
Well, that's the thing. It's like, what am I even talking about? Like
yeah, like where? Because the thing is, what do you? Okay, yeah, it gets to the root of like, what even does it mean to be canceled?
Exactly.
We haven't. That means different things to different people, and also the grounds for which you can be quote unquote canceled. We were talking about this the other day. That boundary isn't the same for everyone. Mm-hmm. How do you even begin to have a discussion about that? Yeah. Because honestly, all of this does seem like subject. Like, okay, think about the worst opinion someone could have. Like, I don't know. Think of like a really bad opinion.
I mean, being transphobic is pretty.
Yeah, being transphobic. Yeah, that some people believe that holding transphobic views is equivalent to committing like a physical act of violence. You got those people, and then you have people that think that's a shitty view, but those are just someone's words, you know, that's just an opinion that they hold. Does it physically actually do any harm? Mm-hmm. How do you begin to have a conversation about...
Do we cancel them or just give them a timeout?
What? You know? Yeah, like what does it even mean to... I just think because like there is no solid way to... man, it's difficult. I think cancel culture is probably in a way a good faith attempt by some leftists to do some good by deplatforming certain people and by making certain ideas, again, outside of the scope of acceptability, which I understand and I empathize with. And I think ultimately it's just a tactic that doesn't work. Because as well as your intentions might be...
I mean, it's a pretty new concept, cancel culture, you know. Like, I don't think it really gained speed until like 2015, 2016.
Well, okay, that's actually... an interesting thing to talk about, because like cancel culture, yes, as we know it, but you could argue that throughout history there's been different forms of quote unquote canceling.
I mean, Julius Caesar got canceled.
Yeah.
For sure.
We canceled Julius Caesar. Yeah. We canceled Hitler.
Yeah.
We canceled
JFK
the Soviet
essentially
Union.
got canceled. Like,
he got canceled.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But essentially, like, I don't. It's hard because there has to be, at one point, a foundation of what's right and what's wrong with people.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what's a line that crosses that people have to cross in order to be canceled. You know.
Yeah.
If it's like being a bigot or misogynistic or just any like just anti-Semitic anything, you know, like I guess yeah we could cancel them, but also do we give them room to like come back and learn from those mistakes? You know, if people like are like holy shit, like are we condemning them to a lifelong of like just being exiled? You know, if they like let's say like months down the line they're like, bro, I'm really sorry I said that. I grew up in in a period where like I was just surrounded with it, you know, and it's all I knew, and I just held on to those values because with like
Because of so and so.
and I surrounded
Yeah.
myself with people like that, you know, and that's just because all I knew was that, and I learned from that, and like this is the beginning of the first step of a new journey, I guess, and I have to
Mm-hmm.
take it by day and win you guys over that or like prove to you that I'm not this person I was,
Yeah.
you know, like can they bounce back? You know, depending on like how bad a thing they like. I mean, Mel
Yeah.
Gibson is all of a sudden like in movies again, right? Like wasn't
Mm-hmm.
he in that he was with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, where they were dads. I guess it was like some sequel.
Recently.
Yeah, not too recent,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm gonna look that up actually.
Yeah.
But
I mean, to that point, I do agree with that. If it's a regular degular that like, I don't know, this guy like, let's say this hypothetical dude held racist views. He changed. I think people should have the room for growing and being able to be rehabilitated, and people evolve. But I do see that like there are people that I don't think you can bring out of like Dick Cheney held heinous views that actually killed like millions of people. Well, I
hmm.
mean, and that's different because like Dick Cheney should like actually be in prison. Like he should like rot underground, like really for the rest until he dies. There are people with heinous views that do cause harm that directly like Dick Cheney like directly facilitated like the murder of millions of people.
Yeah, and he's chilling.
You know,
Yeah.
yeah, Henry Kissinger. There are people that like, and this gets into like a conversation too about the justice
Well,
system
that's
because
the thing. It's like yeah, it's not like justice system, but like if we want to talk like just bring it back to cancel culture, is like what good is this if it doesn't do anything to the ones that get like that do the most horrendous
yes,
things?
exactly,
Like why is Trump still chilling? Why is Biden still chilling? You
yeah,
know, like why is Cheney still chilling? Why is Obama still chilling? You
yeah,
know, why is this happening with all these people who got away with way worse things, and we're tripping about people who just do like that say something racist. Man, a lot people say racist things. You know,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
just how it is, man. It's been instilled in people's like mind for generations.
Yeah,
You
if you
know,
go back on your own self like 10, 15 years ago and you look at the things that like you said yourself, like you would be canceled by today's
yeah. At
standards.
one point, you may be like you may have been a sweetheart, but at one point, you may have said something that may have got you canceled. And who knows? Maybe 10 years from now, we might be saying something today that will truly get us canceled
Yeah.
if we keep this up. And I think this awareness that we should have with with canceling people, really like there needs to be like a foundation of what is like I don't know what degrees of canceling do we need to give to people, you know.
Yeah. Like I mean, like you said, like what good is it if it's not going to get actual powerful people? And that's why I do think like cancel culture as we know it is like poorly implemented and
Yeah.
it's a bad tactic. Like tactically, it's bad because ultimately it ends up falling on like the most like powerless people. If cancel culture can't get Donald Trump, but it can get like a regular degular, okay, maybe not even like a poor person, but like let's say a middle class person fired from their job. I mean, like, did we really accomplish anything other than getting like someone fired from,
Yeah.
or you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And if anything, it didn't. It's not. It's not like we engaged with that person and like actually called out like their bullshit and like took one step closer to actually, I guess, I don't know, rehabilitating them.
Yeah, that's
if
the
anything,
thing.
you made them resentful,
Mm-hmm.
and it's bad PR. You look bad to other people.
And
you
like
know?
we had to like that's the thing. We have to let people like grow from.
Yeah.
Like give them the opportunity to understand, and reflect of what they just said and did, or what they did, and choose to change.
Yeah.
If they don't, then I guess further cancellation, or like truly like follow through with the cancellation, I guess. But if I don't know if they change their views, on everything,
and then this gets to like this begs the question: what if they don't? Do they still deserve to lose their livelihood?
See, that's a further discussion. We need to have this discussion first of what we should do with like certain scenarios. Like it's not all the same.
Yeah. See that's the thing about this. It's like like a very generally applied remedy to something that should be handled case by case.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that's the letter. It caused a stir in like the Twitter circles that I was looking at. But yeah, I mean, other notable people that signed it: Gloria Steinem, famous feminist activist; Margaret Atwood; Olivia Nuzzi; Steven Pinker; Malcolm Gladwell; Michelle Goldberg; Jeet Heer; Zephyr Teachout; Zaid Jalani; Matthew Iglesias; Barry Weiss. That one's funny. That's so funny that she signed this letter.
Sometimes you gotta get shocked.
I guess.
Do people surprise you in many shape or form? It's complicated.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Within this conversation itself also begs like, well, what about the hypocrites who signed the letter?
Of course, yes.
Yes. Yeah, man, it's a nuanced conversation.
It really is. But side note, guys, the movie, if you're still like, hey, he didn't say anything about that movie, it's Daddy's Home 2.
Oh wait, I've actually heard of that.
Yeah. So I
mean,
they
got two.
They
got two of them.
And did enough time pass for Mel Gibson's comments about the Jews, like really like
some like wildly anti-Semitic?
Is the water cool enough to step into the pool? Like, are we cool with him now?
Yeah.
Can we swim with him now? Do we fuck with him now? Like, that's the thing. Like, does time have to pass? Like, and like that's what I'm kind of saying.
Mm-hmm,
like, if someone says something like fucked up about people or anyone, do we have to do we just put him in a timeout, like not talk to him, not give him any spotlight for like a few months, years maybe, and then they get to come back and with Will Ferrell and Mark Wahlberg, and be in a movie?
Yeah, man. Like, what happens with that? Like, what happens with that?
Yeah, do we go balls to the walls, or do we have certain kind of like time limits to this?
Yeah, man. I don't know. My thing, it's a very complicated conversation. And I think my thing is right now, my biggest issue with it is that if it's not serving us to actually challenge those in power, then what are we doing?
Yeah.
What are we doing?
We're taking half measures.
Yeah. We're
That's
just dicking around.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Man. Do you want to...
Yeah, let's talk about this.
Discuss the numerous sexual allegations against various members of...
Yeah, so...
of these bands.
So recently, on July 15th, this really started with the front woman of Cherry Glazer. Her name is Clementine Creevy. She made a post explaining how Sean Redman, that's the bassist to the Buttertones. Basically, Sean Redman and Clementine Creevy got into a relationship when she was at the age of 14. He was 20. And he was abusive. He was committing statutory rape. He knew that she was underage. He insisted on no protection with her. He gave her HPV.
Oh my god!
And that was on the first go. Like, that was the first time they had sex. Like, her first time, she received HPV from him. Just
at the age of 14.
Yeah, it just, dude. What is so? Okay, this comes out.
He was 20. What?
He was 20.
Okay,
20.
You're a loser if you're 20 dating a fucking 14-year-old.
Well, that's the thing about this guy. Like, he had so many allegations. Like, there was an account called Exposing the Buttertones, and they recently that account got taken down. Like, all the submissions that were there were
Oh, really?
Yeah,
The account exposing the Buttertones got taken down?
Yeah, so over
I didn't know that.
Yeah, over like this most recent week. So I guess from the 15th, I'm assuming that's when it started, maybe the 16th, I guess, to give it some time, up until what's the day, the 22nd. Today's the 22nd. So from I guess like what was that, a few days, just probably five, 6 days, you know.
Yeah. I feel like I just saw it and like it was there.
Yeah, I saw it yesterday.
Do you know why?
I don't know like why exactly, but it's gone. So, but there was like over 50 submissions, not all about Sean, but about the band overall, about management, the band, and how this toxic culture environment and this, now what we're understanding, this toxic music scene, because not only the Buttertones got exposed for what they are, but other bands too, including let's bring the list, because this is really disappointing. Okay, being in this genre of music is disappointing. Like, it's sad because this wasn't the most prominent genre to begin with, you know, at this time. And like now, in the midst of all this COVID stuff and all these protests and all this really shitty stuff that we keep hearing about, all these shitty like these all this stuff, it sucks to hear. But on top of it, it's just this like some of my favorite bands too, like Cosmonauts, Swimmers, The Growlers, The Frights. It's just, there's also local bands around as well. Bane's World as well. I don't know, man. It's a real shakeup with the scene. Yeah. And it's I'm not surprised that this is like so many people are getting exposed, you know, because that's the thing. Like, music in the 80s was notorious for like sex, drugs, and rock and roll, and it's hard for me to believe that was more consensual.
Oh no, 100% not.
Yeah.
I mean, where do we even begin? So, the Growlers, let's take the Growlers for example. They said, so they've had 11 ex-members, and they're getting allegations about what, like a lot of them?
It's
a flurry.
It's multiple members, but basically like the frontman was saying, he posted on the Growlers account that through the 15 years of the Growlers history, there's been 11 members, you know, and basically he's saying that that he's denying all the stuff that's happened with him, and you know, just that I guess these things have happened, and I don't know, he's really just dancing around the subject overall. Yeah. But it's just, people have come out, like journalists have come out and said, like, in order for them to be interviewed, they had to show them their breasts, and to get into the backstage, there was one journalist saying that the front man that put out the statement on the Growlers account, I forgot his name exactly, but he also touched her breast, you know. But the thing is, this is mostly just like poor cleanup on the Growlers' end. If anything, he's denying anything that he did. Yeah. Period. Yeah. And it's.
Do you think they're playing that game, that like Donald Trump thing, where like if you just deny and go about your business?
Well, that's all you can do. That's the only move that they can do.
Well, you either own up to it and you say yes, and
when an animal gets attacked and gets cornered in, they just go into the defense.
They're gonna
and
die.
These are animals. These are animals of men that just did horrendous things, and are just like, or like even if you're the front man, you didn't partake. You share very close quarters with everyone, you know, like you are like your bandmates, your 11 ex bandmates that you had all that time with together. Like, you had to have seen something that they went through, or like something that they did, or known something. You know, you are so close to those guys. Like, speaking from just with the little band experience that I truly have, you know, you can't bullshit and say that you don't know that.
So with the band experience that you do have, you can't. You said you're not surprised because in the scene that like you were in, you saw how guys from other bands behaved. You saw what the scene was like. You saw the drugs. You saw the alcohol.
Well, you see people drinking. You know, you see people just. I mean, obviously, everyone smoke. I smoke. You saw I drink with people like at shows. You know,
and you see what kind of people attend those shows too, and how it's like kids. Yeah, honestly.
It's kids. Like, the audience is like,
it's young.
If you're gonna go, let's say if you're starting a band, ideally it's an all ages show that you're playing at.
Yeah.
Because if it's a 21 and over show, the audience is not going to be as great.
And it's like, let's be real. Like, yes, this is music that everybody listens to that has like a lot of a diversity of fans, but a good chunk of those fans are teen girls.
Yeah. And the thing is, to me, it's like, okay, I'm not, again, I can only say limited band experience that I've had, but people do like that view of like people are looking at you in a certain way, like you just did something and they're like just, wow.
Yeah, like just being up on stage, the spotlight is on you, you're doing something cool.
Like just a little exposure I got of it, and like I can sense that feeling where like we're not being treated in a certain, like we're being treated in a certain way.
You're treated differently.
It's like I just, you wish it was normal, but like it's kind of awkward.
Yeah.
But some people can really take advantage of that, especially I can only imagine with the kind of success that the Buttertones had.
Yeah.
And even the Growlers too. They totally expose that if that's the case. Like you can exploit that fuck out of that if that's the case. If people are looking at you like that, you're getting underage women. The Growlers, like they even like have mentioned like they just see the legs in the audience and just go crazy, man. Like just you're you're just being horny on main like full time,
but on steroids.
Yeah,
and like in a predatory way. But yeah, no, that's a really interesting point to bring up because like you said, you're looked at in a certain way. You're viewed in a way with like higher regard because you're doing something cool. Like when I go to a show, any show, it doesn't even have to be, if I go to fucking Back to the Grind and see someone play a solo show, like super stripped down, whatever, it's still fucking cool. They're making something cool. You're looking at them in a certain light. Now imagine being on the other end. You've been there. You've played music in front of people. I've played music in front of people. Like, I know what that feels like. You feel fucking cool.
Yeah.
But these, like, it's like all of these guys, they were in that scene, they were in that heat of the moment, and they really abused that in the worst way that you could.
Yeah, it's just, and that's not what it's about. You're just damaging this scene. You're just damaging everything, and like what little this scene was.
Like its most prominent representatives, like, really just gave it like bad PR.
Yeah, dude.
Bad PR.
Yeah, so now it's like we gotta rebuild from scratch. Like okay, like I'm glad that there's Victorville and High Desert based like a High Desert based scene like emerging. Shout out to Vertical Volumes, by the way, they're doing it right. But the point is like, bro, like this is so damaging and it's just fucked up, man. Like, how are you gonna do this? How do you just take advantage of people like that in the music scene? Like,
yeah.
I don't know, I'm disgusted by it because I see how you can easily do it. I can only imagine what it's like on their level.
Yeah.
And how really you're just like playing with people's emotions.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like you said, on their level, you on some level are basically acknowledging that if you wanted to, you can get any girl that you want and take advantage. And you know that it's probably gonna you don't even have to do it that much by force because they already admire you. You're taking advantage of the admiration that they have for you.
Yeah, it's, I don't know, and everyone jokes around like if like the certain artists would do this to me, like I would just say yeah. I would jump in, and Frank Ocean was like hitting on me, I jump in.
Yeah.
But not everyone is like that, and sometimes when it gets to that intimate situation where you do like land an artist or something like that, you're about to sleep with them, it can go south real quick.
Yes.
Because in the end, you're still having sex with another human being.
With another person. Like, you're putting this person up on a pedestal when in reality it's
they're not
just
a god.
Person.
They're not even a demigod or anything like that.
Yeah, this is just like a fucking greasy-haired, like, loser who, like, happens to be good at playing music.
If we died and in, like, 100 years, our bones got dug up, you look at the same, like...
It's the same
anatomy, you know? It's just, there's male, female, or whatever it is the situation for the gender thing is, but it's still a human, You're not sleeping with, like, a god,
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is, like, people think that they are sleeping with some mystical creature, some crazy unicorn, and they might just be too afraid to say anything, or just, like, just the fact that they're in this situation with him in the first place is just speechless in the first place.
Yeah, man. Yeah. And the band members take advantage of that. So tennis actually, the tennis Twitter account tweeted like something that I thought was pretty interesting. They said the quote unquote sensitive indie rocker archetype has become an inadvertent guise for men who claim to be feminist and often believe they are, to nonetheless use their influence to pressure women into compromising situations and abusive relationships, which is honestly kind of does get like to the heart of things, of like that acknowledgement of admiration and like the band members like on some level also believing like, well, it's okay because they're a fan. Yeah. It's okay, like I'm not the bad guy. I'm not this creepy dude in an alleyway that like cornered this woman and like raped her in the alley. Like this is a fan. Like it's cool. And there's like also the thing about like, man, some guy musicians are so fucking annoying and pretentious too.
Well, first off, guys are annoying. These guys are annoying.
But musicians, more artists, more so.
Yeah, they really grind the gears extra rough, for sure.
Because like it's the thing where, okay, people in general. Let's say people in general who make art can be really annoying because there's just like this like poeticness about making music, and it's beautiful, and it's like honestly like something like spiritual, and it totally is. It totally
people
is.
In the
You're
right
touching
places,
people. Yes. Yeah.
In a deeper way that not even words can do.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes lyrics, yeah.
Yeah.
But like that being said, like in the music aspect of things, or even like in the visual representation of art,
Yeah. So think about like this like a dude in a band who like he may be very talented and whatever, and he's like writing all these beautiful words about women and describing women in like the most beautiful terms and writing like the most like amazing love songs. Like that doesn't absolve anything. If anything, like that tweet said, it sort of honestly gives them a cover even to themselves that they think like, no, I'm different. I'm one of the good guys. Yeah. Like I can't be like, that.
Can't you tell I'm a lover?
Yeah. Exactly.
Like I'm just I don't know, a connoisseur, know, for some guys.
Yeah.
It's just, I don't know, man. It's just, it just shows you the true intention of where they're at,
Yeah.
Right now. And I do agree. Like, just because, like, they're portraying themselves as this person who's, like, upset, like, high sensitivity or, like, loving, like, great deep love that they have in themselves or whatever, like, it doesn't excuse anything.
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, you still hurt someone.
Yeah.
You still really traumatized someone.
You did.
And really, no matter how beautiful of a work of art you created, fuck you.
Yeah, man, like it's intentions, like good intentions or not. If some people look back at some of these experiences and they see it as like, oh wait, this was actually fucked up and traumatizing, then well, and that gets to the next part is like, what happens now? What comes next? Like, what does justice look like?
Well, the bartenders have got to go, and great news. If anyone's wondering, like their label did drop them, Innovative Leisure, they dropped them, they removed them from the list, they're gone. So let's hope that we don't hear about them ever again. Because honestly, I don't want to hear about that. Even the other members, bro. Because if someone's doing as sick as what that guy was doing, like, and you're gonna deny that you knew anything, fuck you.
Yeah.
Go fuck yourself, bro.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, you're lying. You're not even trying.
And then what about the guy from the Frights?
See, the Frights
Nike Carnival?
Okay, the Frights is interesting. This is where kind of like the whole cancel culture conversation that we just had
comes
back into play.
Mm-hmm.
Because, so Mikey gets accused, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like this one situation, right? With this one woman is that her username is like Trash Baby.
Yeah.
I forgot her name exactly.
I'll look it up as you.
Thank you. But she came out and said basically his actions were
Claire. by the way.
Oh, it's Claire. Okay.
Yeah.
Claire comes out and says Mikey was like forceful in their situation, I guess. And down the line, they make a joint statement together, like Mikey and Claire, saying how they've come to terms and like they've talked about the issue at hand, and maybe the forcefully was the wrong word to use in this statement, I guess.
Yeah. She specifically said he forced me to give him head. And in the joint statement that they put out together, she in a way kind of recanted that and said maybe force was not the best word to use.
So this situation just reminds me of Aziz Ansari when he had that date and I guess he sucked at giving head or something like that, or I don't know what happened. Like he was awkward on the date or something like that.
So did you actually like read the thing?
No.
Okay, so I read that like actual allegation and it sounded like a long night of like awkward like sex and a lot of things that she does. It sounds like she didn't really want to do, but it also didn't really sound like coerced and like it more so just sounded like a really awkward, like albeit bad, like hookup.
Bro, that happened.
Like just a really like unpleasant sexual experience which happens sometimes.
And like sometimes I guess they can be a little rough. I mean,
yeah,
but
it's
like
complicated, man.
Yeah, and I like to think it's like if you're gonna recant the statement, it's like I don't know, like I don't know what to feel about the Fright situation because if they're both cool with it, cool, that's great. But also it's like if more stories come out, then what do I believe at that point? So each situation is unique.
Yeah, and it's also the thing too about whatever justice looks like for the victims. Does it have to be something that is publicly displayed, or should it be like a personal one-to-one what can I do to make things better, and not necessarily like an IG press release about I did these things and I apologize to the person and I apologize to my fan, which yes is like I'm not saying it's bad, but is that truly justice? Is that because maybe that is all the victim wants is a public acknowledgement of what happened and a public apology. But in the case of the Frights, for example, as I understand it, they actually talked about it and they came to terms. She sort of, again, in a way, recanted what she said and said maybe force wasn't the best word. Maybe it was an Aziz Ansari situation where, it
was awkward.
It was just bad sex
They didn't talk about the kind of sex they were trying to have. I don't know. Like, it could be like that. Where, like, and that's the thing, too. Even with, like, people and, like, shit, man. Like, your partner can have a bad sexual time. They won't tell you anything about it.
Yeah.
It's just... That could just be the situation,
And it's like, so then is it subjective then to what sexual assault is for someone? Because that's kind of what it sounds like now. And like, I mean, we were just talking about this before. It's like partners who like will have sex with their partners when they don't necessarily want or are in the mood, I guess, to appease their partner, but you wouldn't really like look at that as sexual assault.
No, yeah.
Unless you personally do, but like that's a very common thing. You know what I mean? Is wanting to appease somebody that you like. And in a sense, these are people that were admired, that if I do want to get something straight. This girl was 16 at the time.
Yeah. Well, how old was Mikey though? That's
old enough, I think. Like, I don't think. I think he was 19 or 20. He said, 19, 20. Yeah.
Yeah, I know.
That's what Mikey said.
I know he said it was like they were young, and I know that we was involved, but I mean, like, I don't know, man. Like,
yeah. So, if anything, I think he did. That is a screw up, a fuck up. Maybe you should ask the age of people that you're hooking up with. I mean, you definitely. If you're just like randomly hooking up with someone one night, I think you should ask them how old they are.
Yeah.
Like just.
If you're hooking up.
I'm sorry. Yeah. That's what I think. Like,
hey, can we get an ID check real quick?
Can I see your ID really quick?
Yeah.
But yeah, man, I don't know. We'll see how like this turns out. We'll see like what I'm just interested, honestly, on my end. I want to see like what justice looks like, I guess, in this case, and what is gonna end up happening.
Well, I want to see like if the indie scene is going down right now.
Mm-hmm.
Like what else is next? You know, because it can't just be this one genre.
Yeah.
Of music. I'm sure it's in. I definitely know it's in metal. Like has to be.
I mean, it's got to be in every genre. It's hip hop.
Could be. Imagine like Johnny Cash. Like
turns out that
he's fucking around.
Who knows, man? This is like an extension of Me Too, essentially. This is like the indie scene.
Yeah.
Getting Me Too'd. Are all these bands SoCal based?
I think so.
Mainly.
I know the Frights are San Diego based. Yeah. I believe the Growlers are LA. Mm-hmm. I'm not quite sure.
Well, Burger Records. A lot of the bands were under Burger Records.
Yeah.
And that's based in Fullerton.
For sure, bro. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. So, with that being said, do you wanna call this?
Yeah, let's wrap this up, guys. Thanks for staying for the extra 15, 16 minutes. We got some bonus podcast for you guys. You know, it's been fun.
Yes.
You know, who knows? We might do a 2-hour episode, maybe a 3-hour episode.
That would be really cool. I would love to do 3 hours.
Yeah, me too. And if you guys don't want to listen to it, no, you don't have to. Like it'll be there for you.
Then. If you guys don't want to listen to me for 3 hours, that sucks.
I get it though. For me, like,
and my ego is shot.
Mine's still
but I wouldn't listen to I wouldn't listen to me for 3 hours. I don't listen to Joe Rogan for 3 hours.
Yeah, no. I mean, like, depends on the guest, you know.
I can't do anything for 3 hours consecutive. I tried to watch Schindler's List the other day. I did finish it, but
movies are different because like you have to you have to physically commit to staying in one place.
Yeah, man. But I've watched Titanic in one sitting.
Well, that's a great movie.
Yeah.
I'm not saying Schindler's List is not, but like
it's a good movie. But I did have
classic,
to,
bro.
Yeah. But if you were watching it for the first time, I think I would have to like digest it in parts. Anyway,
guys,
we're gonna wrap this up.
We're dipping.
Out.
We're out of gas, guys. We're exposing ourselves live on the pod. We're dipping for too late.
Live on the pod. You heard it here first. Till next time, guys. Stay safe. Take care. Stay hydrated. Exercise. Whatever.
See you later, guys. Love you.
Peace out.